Hi, I'm Liber Puente. I'm an engineer by profession. I'm one of the co-founders of TostoneT, an ICT business in Havana, the one I invite you to our workshop. Come along. As you can see, we are here in Dador, close to the ice cream Copelia, very famous. This is an area where a lot of young people come along because we have the Havana University very close and many medical students come along. Okay. When you are here, you need to clean up the feet, use some bleach, and now you are ready to get in. So we are here at the workshop where we have our client's manager, one of our technicians. He's working now, putting some games to this boy, but inside is where we have our parts. And we have here the other technician who also fix and program and prepare some network system to operate in the place of the clients. Where we founded in October 2012. We are just this month getting to 8 years. Since the beginning, we struggled a bit to find an original name for our business. So we were eating in a place where we were eating plantain, fried plantain, that in Cuba is called tostones. That's why we kept that name, TostoneT, which is very unique. So we have worked to solve and fix, especially computers and printers, because in Cuba, the weather conditions are very hard for individuals and we need to replace parts. That's why one of the solutions we have found is to get old computers or broken computers, get their parts and replace them in the computers of the individuals. Up to now, we have helped more than 5,000 individuals, and we expect to increase that number because of our stability. We have a team of 15 members in different specialties that we try to create new solutions every time. Coronavirus also took us like a surprise. Fortunately for us, part of the challenge of this time have been that people need more the IT and the IT services. So we have been open all the time. The problem we have had is that we have had less travels, and especially for IT, we need to bring from outside the parts and some of the equipment we need. And of course, we also have more restrictions to operate as a small business regarding to our foreign partners, especially in the US, because of the number of new regulations to avoid the relations between the business in Cuba and US. But we've been surviving and we're still alive. We are very happy to be here and to have this exchange. We're looking forward to hear your thoughts and ideas about this environment and this exchange we could have. Thank you.
Hello, I am Marta Deus. I am a founder of Deus Expertos Contables and co-founder of Nevolution and Mandao. Here are our office in Playa Miramar. Part of our team works here, and you're very welcome to come. This is one of our offices. Here works the finance part of Mandao and Deus. Part of our team of Mandao are working in other office, and well, this we start everything in this office. I was born in Cuba. I lived for 13 years in Spain. In 2013, I saw an opportunity to come back to Cuba and open my first business, so I did it alone without my family. And I came and I founded Deus Expertos Contables, which is a consulting focused in accounting and financial services. So I met a lot of people, and I saw another opportunity that the people didn't have any information where they can find information about entrepreneurship, about business. There were not a business culture in Cuba. So we founded Evolution, which is a business magazine. We always try to inspire people to open their business. We give them tips, we give them information on what is happening in the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Cuba, and trying to make networking all the time. And with a group of partners that I co-founded, we created Mandao in September of 2018, and we started in the office. You saw, very small. This office is a garage. I mean, this is the garage of my house. And then the COVID came. We have grown during this time. Now we have an amazing team. They work a lot. We work every day very hard to grow every day. We learn every day from our collaborators, for our clients, and we are trying to be better every day for them. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And any question, any thought that you want me to share with you about my businesses and the private sector, let me know. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is Fajardo. I am the co-founder and creative director of Dador, a forward-thinking Cuban fashion and lifestyle brand based here in Old Havana. And this is our storefront, and come in. I'll show you a little bit more about what we do. Dador means giver, creator, and it's our natural way of giving back and of adding our little grain of sand and carving our footprint into this growing private sector in Cuba. Our logo is a hot air balloon in constant motion, kind of like journeying off to the horizon, always searching for new experiences, but at the same time remaining grounded and anchored to our roots. So sadly, we did have to close our doors at the beginning of the pandemic, but we've never stopped working. And we quickly adapted and started making face masks, non-surgical face masks. And it was great because our team of seamstresses took a load of work home, and we're just working from home for this many months. In our case, we did launch a new line of home goods that's called Dador Casa, so that was exciting. We're working on rebuilding the local fashion industry through conscious, forward-thinking design practices that give value and demand to high-quality Cuban-made goods. Most of our designs are made using natural fabrics like linen and cotton. And in a way, we're trying to define also a new aesthetic that will represent, or that really represents this new Cuba. These are my co-founders, Raquel and Ilse. And we met when we were in college, and actually back then we never dreamed about having Dador and creating this beautiful space. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to join forces and create something of our own. And it's interesting because we oversee every single process of the production in-house, and we're very hands-on. And in that way, and you'll see our workshop, everyone that comes in here can see where and how their clothes are made. So thank you for joining us today. I'm looking forward to this discussion, and it's a wonderful opportunity to create understanding and awareness about what's going on with the Cuban private sector, and also a great way to create bridges between the US and Cuba. So I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Excellent. So thank you, everyone. Once again, I'm Lee Evans. I'm the head of the ASCOA Cuba Working Group, also part of our Young Professionals of the Americas Network. So we want to thank all of our members for being here and welcome. We are very pleased to have with us today, joining live from Havana via Google Meet, the three entrepreneurs that you just witnessed in the videos. So we have Liber Puente, Marta Deus, and Lauren Fajardo. We are also very pleased to have Brett Perlmutter, the head of Google Cuba, as our moderator. And as you'll notice, we're using Google Meet for this. This is the only platform that will work to have all these people in one virtual place and to have people joining live from Havana. So for better or for worse, Brett, this is your test run to see Google Meet, which launched in June of this year. So as you've seen, I mean, these are tremendous entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is difficult anywhere in the world at any point in time, and perhaps right now in Cuba during 2020 with COVID, with travel restrictions, with everything that's going on. These are some of the most challenging situations. And so we're really excited to have Liber, Marta, and Lauren here to talk about their businesses and share with you their experiences. Once again, I want to remind everybody to please stay on mute throughout the conversation. After we have a moderated discussion with Brett, we're going to have an opportunity for question and answer. So if during the discussion, if you have an idea, there's an activities button that you'll see. It's a little triangle, circle, and square. You can click on that, and there's a Q&A feature. You can ask your question there, and if you see someone else's question that you like, you can upvote it, and then when we get to the question period, we'll go through sort of in order of priority. So I think those are all of the housekeeping items. And I also want to say thank you to Carlos from Wajidos Films, who helped to produce the videos that we just saw and was actually one of the entrepreneurs that we hosted back in November of 2019, the last time that we held a session like this. And also a special thanks to the folks at Cuba Educational Travel for helping to put this together. So with all of that, I want to get us started, and I'm going to turn things over to Brett Perlmutter, head of Google Cuba, to get us started. So thank you, Brett.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you so much, everyone who is at home, who has joined us here on Google Meet. Especially thanks to our three entrepreneurs who have kindly joined us from Havana, Cuba. This is really the first panel that we've done of its kind with people joining us from Havana. I remember a few years ago, something like this would be totally a fantasy, and it's really nice to see it manifest, and it's going well so far, I shall say. Once again, to echo Lee, we have Marta Deus, the founder of Deus Expertos Contables consulting agency, and the co-founder of Mandao, a last-mile courier and food delivery service, and a co-founder of Negolution, a magazine dedicated to private businesses in Cuba. We also have Liber Puente, the founder and CEO of TostoneT, a Cuban tech company, and Lauren Fajardo, the founder of Dador, a forward-thinking Cuban fashion and lifestyle brand. I thought to make this a little bit more intimate, I will join you guys very quickly in Havana, so we could be together. If I could ask that our three panelists unmute themselves. Many equate building a startup to taking a leap off of a cliff and assembling an airplane on your way down. Doing so in Cuba has the added layers of complication where the internet is emergent, there's no easy access to capital, no real digital payment systems, and no framework for incorporating an entity yet, which sounds even more daunting. Tack on to all of that what 2020 has wrought: increased sanctions and a pandemic. So it sounds like a doomsday scenario, yet these three entrepreneurs are not only surviving, but they're thriving. And not only that, they're looking good doing it. So if I could turn it over to our three panelists, the first question I want to ask is, one thing that the three of you have in common is that although you were born and raised in Cuba, you've actually left. You spent significant amounts of time in your life, respectively, in places as far away from Cuba as Australia, the UK, and Spain. But you have all come back, which could be atypical of the Cuban entrepreneur. So my first question, and let's start with Marta, what compelled you to come back, and why have you chosen to be an entrepreneur in Cuba, of all places?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me. I'm super happy to be here, and I'm enjoying a lot seeing you with the Capitolio in the back. It's amazing. And well, I always had the, answering your question, I always had the dream to have my own business in Cuba. I left when I was 13 years old, and I came back when I was 25. But I remember my friends from university telling me, you always wanted to have a business in your country. And they thought that I was crazy because, you know, there was a communist country. I say, you know, we'll never have a business, your private business. But I did it, and I mean, it means a lot for me because everything I do in Cuba, it has a lot of impact in my friends, in the people that I love, and the people that I work with, and it's super important for me. It makes me a super happy person doing it every day. So this is my dream. So have a businesses in Cuba is making my dream come true. Hello?
Brett, you're on mute.
I'm on mute. Lauren, I say, Marta, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Lauren, how about you?
Hello. Hi, Brett. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm in Havana right now. And yeah, for me, I actually lived I'm Cuban born and raised, and I lived in Australia when I was young for 4 years, from I was 9 to 13 years old. This is why my fluent English. And then I went back to Cuba, and I actually went high school and college there. And I studied fashion design here in Cuba, where it doesn't exist. There isn't a fashion industry here. And back when I was at school, the possibility of having my own business one day didn't exist. We also didn't have access to internet back then. So we have very little information. We didn't have access to fashion magazines. And when I graduated, I really had no job opportunities. And I ended up moving to New York and lived in the States since 2009, and would come back to Cuba to visit friends and family, maybe 2 weeks a year, and then go back to my life. And it really wasn't until 2015 that I came back. It was right after the thawing between the relationships between the US and Cuba. And I just found this totally new city. And it felt really inspiring seeing restaurants and different private businesses open up, and also friends who had left coming back, wanting to live here and invest here. So that was something that I really wanted to be a part of. And I thought that my international experience and vision would be something worthwhile putting to practice here in Cuba. And I just wanted to be a part of what was happening here.
And you are already a formidable part of that movement. So thank you so much. Liber, if you would come off of mute and tell us your story. So you were originally a diplomat, is that correct? Liber, are you able to come off mute? We now see you, but we do not hear you. Are you able to unmute yourself? Now we can hear you. Audio is still not coming through, unfortunately, although we see you are off mute. Unfortunately, no, we can't hear you at the moment. But keep toggling with it, and as soon as we hear you, we're going to cycle back to you. While Liber is fixing his AV situation, let's go back to you, Marta. So could you tell us, Mandao recently launched a mobile app. Who are your users, and what does it allow them to do? Okay, Marta. Well, now Marta also seems to be having an AV issue. So then we'll come back to Lauren. This is like whack-a-mole. Lauren, so Dador. I love your brand. Lauren is with us. Lauren, I love your brand.
I'm just praying that the electricity doesn't go.
This is good. This is, and now Liber, it sounds like we hear you too now. See? So with luck, we'll have everyone. Liber, can you say something so we can see? Liber, can you hear us? Okay. Okay. So Lauren, Dador. So now we're back in the fashion world.
Oh, that's
I was just saying. I was just saying, I absolutely love your brand. I have a Dador shirt, which I wear. It's so soft. I think it's representative of the rest of your collection, which I would say is clean, nonconformist, comfortable, and completely elegant. Could you tell us what have been your biggest challenges for creating a fashion brand in Cuba?
Oh, well, first of all, people thinking I was crazy to try to build a fashion brand here. But I do have to say, one of our biggest challenges in the beginning was building a new model that would really work for us, and it didn't really exist. So, you know, when we had the idea of Dador and we wanted to make, you know, Cuban-made clothes, we had this idea of like, okay, we'll bring it to the seamstress, the home seamstress, then we'll pick it up. But we quickly realized that the quality control was not going to be the best. So we decided to oversee every single step of the production. And, you know, we really, I do say that in Cuba, you know, like private enterprises, that there's no real precedent before. So it does give you a little room to kind of experiment. And that, I think that was in the beginning our biggest challenge. Like it took us a while to kind of build our business model and flow with that. But it's good. It's a learning experience. And then another big, of course, challenge that we have here is the supply chain and how do we source materials. A little background, there's no garment district in Havana or in Cuba. There's no wholesale suppliers, and there isn't really like a much variety or quality. And there's only in Havana like 2 big fabric stores, but they don't really have control over we don't have control over what's available for purchase. So we really ended up sourcing outside because we wanted quality fabrics. And of course, you know, since we're cuentapropistas, self-employed, there's very strict limitations on importing goods to Cuba. So we really ended up just bringing our materials, fabrics, thread, everything you can think of in our bags when we travel abroad. So, you know, that really raises the cost of production. And I have to say that one of our other big challenges that we had at the beginning was we didn't know how Dador was going to be received by the Cuban market. And we knew this when we were building Dador and we wanted to create a valuable Cuban product, because Cubans tend to prefer goods that come from abroad. And they tend to prefer goods like clothes that their family from Miami will bring them, or they tend to prefer like H&M or Supreme or something like that. So that was a challenge that we really didn't know if the Cuban market was going to accept and like what our aesthetic or what we were trying to do.
Fascinating. So would you say that your primary customer has been outsiders or Cubans?
So it's interesting. In the beginning, definitely with foreigners, a lot of Americans, especially because American tourists they were very interested in learning more about the Cuban private sector, and they were very surprised and in awe what we're able to do with all the challenges that we have, and like vintage machines. We make our clothes with vintage machines, sewing machines. So it was definitely our first customers were foreigners, and with that, the Cuban market started kind of like gaining interest in what we were doing, and little by little, we really, like, people would come in and see, like, oh my God, this is made here. And you could actually, if you go into a store and you saw in the video, you can see there's a transparency that people can see that things are made right there. So, it was very about like value and respect. And so now, and COVID now, when COVID hit, like Cuba closed all its borders. We've really had to, of course, market to here.
Right. So with that, I see Liber's audio is now working. Liber, can you hear us? Now you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself and let us know when you can hear us. Now we can hear you. Liber, so you were originally a diplomat. How did you move into the tech space?
Okay, I was graduated first as an engineer at the Havana Technical University, what we call CUHAI. Then there I was selected to go through several tests. Then I went through the training for being a diplomat, where I was for 12 years. I worked as a diplomat, and I worked inside Cuba, and outside Cuba I was able to visit the 5 continents. I was able to see around how things work quite different than in Cuba. But at some point, I wanted to feel myself the way I was trained, because, I had this basic training as a diplomat is a lot of math, a lot of IT thing. And then I was feeling that something was missing. And at some point, I was coming back from my last permanent mission in Ghana, and I met with one of my colleagues from the university, and I decided to quit just like this, because at that time, the government has facilitated, I'm talking about 2012, were facilitating that the business have relations with business.
Great. So you've really been able to incorporate a lot of different experiences. Marta, are you with us? Can you hear us if you come off mute?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Fabulous. So Mandao is a logistics and delivery company, and you most recently launched an app. Who are your users, and what problems does your app solve for?
Well, we have users from, mostly from Cuba, but also from abroad. I think Mandao, what does is connect. We connect families. We solved a huge problem during the pandemic that, the people could ask food. We have not only food from restaurants, we have a service that is called Agro, that you can buy any vegetables and...
We lost Marta. So we will come back to Mandao. But she touched on something really interesting, which was the problems that the COVID pandemic solved for. Of course, Lauren mentioned that borders were closed during COVID, and that certainly affected her customer base. Marta, you were in the middle of a sentence. I see you're back, and please come off mute and continue your thought.
Sorry, I left. The connection today is not going well here in Havana, at least for me.
So we have I mean, we are working with more of 70 restaurants, but we also have a basket of vegetables and food and meat and cheese and yogurt and I mean more some other kind of food that you can buy every Saturday. So we bring for the Finca Vista Hermosa, which is the farm is outside of Havana, and they're all agroecological products. And we have as well the agro services. So you can find any vegetables and meat from the agros, as like kind of street food market. And so we are creating now as well the Mercadito, which is we have the best pre-elaborated or cooked food that we have in Mandao that you can find it there as well. So we have helped many families during this COVID time that they could go out, or they were afraid to go out to get their food through the app. As well, we had this service helping some old people with Juan Quispan. They made the food and we delivered. So some people, we were helping them as well. And through the app, I think mostly what we do is connect families from abroad here. I mean, we have this service super important that not only has used during this COVID time, but the people has incorporated now as part of the opportunity that I have in right now in Havana, and the people that are abroad to get the food to the family that are here.
It's an unbelievable service that you're providing to the community. We heard about another service that Dador was doing, Dador at home, and creating non-surgical face masks that people have been wearing, and they look quite elegant. Liber, if I could ask you, how has COVID affected your business? While most people are at home, I'm assuming they're wanting to connect. Have you experienced any uptick in the services that you offer? If you want to come off mute and let us know.
Well, as you can see in this meeting, everything in Cuba is difficult, even the simple things, but everything is possible. So most of the people during this period, they have realized they need to use more the computers, telephones, and the IT at home. That's why my business, fortunately, has had a lot of new clients, and some others have requested more services, which is good for us. We have found a way to keep providing services even during those days or weeks that Havana was almost shut down, because the government took some measures to avoid movement in the streets. But my people in the workshop used to come here or go to the client's house and by bicycle, because there were no transportation. So we used to walk or either go in bicycle to visit and to solve the customers' problems. But in general, we have had more troubles to access to parts. You know, in Cuba, we bring parts from abroad, and it's very difficult, even though with the new measures of the US government avoiding the Cubans to travel to Cuba have brought us more problems, because we used to receive, you know, in the bags of the people who come from US, they bring some parts we ask people to buy for us in US, like screens, keyboards, batteries for laptops, many parts, even some devices to work or to operate were brought from US, and now there are more limitations to bring all of that from US. But we always find a way, and we hope that when the flights start again, we will be able to keep bringing new stuff from US.
Fabulous. So the three of you have really supported your communities during the COVID time. We know that the Cuban government has had a very quick and effective control of the pandemic, and have relied heavily, actually, not only on state entities, but also on private citizens such as yourself and private businesses to help support the community at this time. It's remarkable, and hats off to all of you. If we could back up just a little bit, the title of this panel is about entrepreneurship and the challenge that entrepreneurs face. Really, entrepreneurship is an English word. In Cuba, you're known as cuentapropistas. Could you elaborate on what that means for this audience who think of things in terms of the private sector? And feel free of any one of our panelists to answer and anyone to jump in.
Well, cuentapropista is self-employed. We are not, we don't have any legal structure. I mean, as a company, we are individuals. We work.
We lost Marta, but if Liber or Lauren want to finish her thought.
Okay, so she was talking. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, she was talking about that the term cuentapropista means self-employed. Because, also in Cuba, because of the ideological things, the government was trying to avoid that people exploit to others. That's why it's been so difficult to reestablish the private company, because what is trying to get is not to avoid exploitation from one people to others. So but now they allow that you hire people with a minimum salary, and that's the way they have found to allow people to have more employees in the job. Even though, as she was mentioning, we still do not have legal entity to create like a limited liability company. We are full liability person. We have to respond with all of our resources to any problem we may have.
Fascinating.
And that is a number that is given to one person, and has not allowed people to gather in any organization yet.
Fascinating. And I know, Marta, you've been on the forefront of the movement to quote unquote lobby or push for small businesses to have legal personalities. Could you tell us, do you think that this is something that may be able to happen in the future?
I think we are close that to happen. I mean, I'm very optimistic, but not only that. I mean, it's something we have asked for 3 years, 4 years. I mean, but very heavy. I mean, all the time, but very heavy. Like we meetings with the Ministry of Work and Social Security. But now it seems like we are close to that. I mean, the government has said they are making the law for small and medium companies, and we hope until this year will finish, they will open a little bit the law for cuentapropismo, for self-employed. So we will have a list of activities that we were able to do. We are not going to be allowed to do, but the rest we will be allowed to do it. So this is very good news, because we were asking for that for many years. I mean, we work with the activity, with the license, and then under the license we do a lot of things that we don't know or we can do that. So it's super complicated for us. So what we want is to be a company, but until we get that, to have more openness and more more freedom to make any activity that we want, that's very good news for us.
It's fabulous. Lauren, if I could ask you, and then Marta, would love to know your thoughts as well. The two of you are really some of the leading female entrepreneurs in Cuba, in the entire country. Cuba historically produces so many female leading figures in both the private sector as well as the state-run sector. Lauren, do you think that there are enough female entrepreneurs? And what have, as an all-female run business, how do you think you are serving as a role model for other young women who want to rise in the private sector in Cuba?
I don't know if Lauren is
Yeah,
here.
I'm here. I'm here. Just like, uh, yeah. I mean, it's, you know, I always say that one of my big that I enjoy the most and appreciate is the network and the support network, especially between women entrepreneurs. And actually, here's Marta. And Marta is a perfect example that when we were at the very beginning, when we were starting out, we came to her and she gave us really good advice. And of course, we were sitting at her office, at her desk, and we were like amazed by this like beautiful woman, so empowering. So I think having those role models, and then for us, it's always been kind of like, and it is, we are named Dador, and it means giver, creator. So it's always about giving back. And, you know, after we created Dador, of course, so many people came to us, especially women, asking about, you know, construction advice and how do you do this and that. So that was also a very special moment. And again, you know, I always say it's also about educating. And here in Cuba, there's a huge social impact that private enterprise has and private businesses have, especially around the neighborhoods that we're in. So it's always important for me to, especially the little girls and the other women around the neighborhood, to always show that we can do it. And I do have to say that in Cuba, you know, the Cuban women were always, you know, they were always empowered to go to work. It was always about, you know, like Cuban women work, but also people forget that they're also mothers and their daughters and their wives, and they have to go home and cook and clean and take care of everybody. So that's why I think there's so many empowered Cuban women, because they know how to resolver. And really here in Cuba, it's all about like figuring out, and this like, we know how to resolver. We know how to get stuff done. So
That's
it's
so
really
well
exciting.
said. That is so apropos. Marta, maybe you could tell us, resolver, what does that mean to you? And what does it mean in English?
Bueno, sorry, I was talking in Spanish. Resolver is all the time. I mean, it's what we do all the time. Liber can say as well.
So,
But I
so it
mean,
means to
we
resolve,
were,
right?
yes. I mean, thank you. Lauren always tell me that. I remember when you came, the two of you, I think, and then I met Raquel. And it's what we do. I think we help each other a lot, or we try to do it, because there is not much where, I mean, now you can find information. It's easier for women and in general for entrepreneurs, but at the beginning it was super difficult to get information in Cuba, to get advice. This is something we always have done also with Negolution, is trying to help entrepreneurs to open their own business and to find solutions and find advice with us. And I think what you were talking about, women, is we still have to do a lot of work, because if you see statistics, I think is we are like the 35% of the self-employed. So most of the self-employed are men. So we have to do a lot of work. I think, as Lauren said, the Cuban women works a lot. This is something, I mean, this is in general something that doesn't surprise us. I mean, the women are very hardworking, and they are, I mean, the ministers, and they working as directors of many companies. But if there is any problem in their home, I mean, if they have to take care of the children, there is the women have to do it. If there is old people to look after, so the women have to do it. So every problem in the house, the women have to go and take care of that. And that is something that we need to make general, to make it more, I don't know, more between the men and women in families to help each other, because there's something that you can see that they start, but they have to leave, they have to stop, because they have to something to take care of, and that's something that is happening, and I mean, we have to do something to make it better.
I know the two of you are amazing examples of that. Lauren, I see you coming off of mute to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because really at Dador, we're mostly women, like we employ mostly women, and we have had to, like go, and again, like the private sector, one thing is like when you go and tell your family, I'm going to start my own business, they look at you like you're crazy. And, like Raquel, that's one of our founders, she has a 7-year-old. So that was a whole process when she sat down with her family and told her that she wanted to be a part of this project, that we had no idea if it was going to work out or not. And then kind of dealing with the women that come and work with us. So it's always about educating and empowering them, because everybody kind of goes home and has to deal with all their personal issues. So I think, again, creating that support network is really important.
Fabulous. So if I could turn to a subject that affects both men and women in Cuba, and it's quite a thorny one, especially now. The U.S. is coming up on a presidential election on November 3rd. Politics aside, what can the United States community of business leaders and government leaders do to help Cuban entrepreneurs succeed? And Liber, we'd love to start with you for this question.
Well, that would be a real situation for us if there is any change in the current policy. Because, the last 2 to 4 years have been very difficult for us, every time more difficult in terms of opportunities to exchange and to create new things to relate both countries. I think, and I tell that to every person I met when they come from US, that the best thing we can do together is business. We obviously we are gonna have differences, because, for example, we have different weather. You have that weather there, and we have this great weather here, and that make us both of us different. And at the same time, you have a lot of resources, including a lot of business, a great business platform that we do not have in Cuba. So we do have a lot to change. And on the other side, we dance a great salsa, and most of the American dance. So that different make us to be better partners, and we can work together to have a good relation. But we need things to change. I have seen several people that wanted to work with me as a partner in the area of hardware, because US is the best market for computer parts, or to buy computer parts. And at some point they abandoned the idea because of the limitations and the regulations. I have had several companies, software companies, wanted to hire Cuban software developers, because we have a lot of software developers available here and capable. And in the same time, different to the Indians, we are at the same time that the US, and we are nicer. So it would be easier to work with the Cubans. But the regulations do not allow us to work together. So what I would expect that any new administration will think again if this previous policy has worked enough for the better of both peoples.
Thank you so much for those thoughts. Lauren, has the increased number of sanctions, and we've seen them greatly increase in the last 2 years, and certainly even in the last 2 months, politics aside, how have they affected you economically?
Yeah, a lot, because we definitely started seeing a decline in American tourists. And I want to make a pause, and you can see a difference between the American tourists and European tourism that comes to the island, or even Canadians who prefer to go to like all-inclusive hotels and do more of like the touristy, classic, like cliche. When Americans actually have to come to Cuba and support the Cuban people and interact with them and get involved and learn more about the private sector here. So it's also, it goes both ways. Like they learn from us, but we also learn from them, because one of the biggest issues here is like the know-how. How do I know how to do this? I don't know how to do this. There's nothing in place that can tell me how to do this. You know, like I didn't go to business school. There's no business school in here. So, and it's the US, you know, it's like the biggest market and it's right there. So for us, it's really impacted not only our sales, but, you know, like that vision and kind of like, oh, this is great advice. I'm gonna put this to practice in whatever way I can, you know, it makes sense for here to Cuba. And so, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And I understand that the know-how is so important, and it's almost as important, if not more important, than the supply chain issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, of course. Like even when the opening and, you know, like Google started coming here, or Airbnb came here, and like all these bigger, I would say like corporations and companies that were actually really helping, and they gave Cuban. Remember, before we were just cuentapropistas, we were just like little self-employed. Like there was not, you know, like you weren't thinking with like this big vision, big scale vision, and now we're more empowered, and, you know, like we're entrepreneurs. We understand our business. We have a 5-year plan. We have a 10-year plan. So that was, you know, we really benefit from that.
It makes total sense. So one thing that seems to have gotten better is the connectivity situation. I know Liber and Marta, you have tech-based businesses. Certainly when I first started working in Cuba, the idea of doing a Google Meet would be a fantasy. Now here we are. We're totally connected in the cloud. Marta, could you talk to us a little bit about how the advent of the internet has accelerated your business, and specifically in the context of Mandao, your delivery business?
I mean, Mandao is now working through an app. I mean, 3 apps: the app of the delivery guy, the app of the restaurant, and the app of the user. So that was not possible before. I mean, I started my first business in 2013, and we had to go to the park to send an email and to get connected through Wi-Fi. So we are running this business through an app, and for me sometimes it's unbelievable. That makes us our life so much easier. Still, we are having some problems. I mean, sometimes the restaurants, they don't get connected well, or the users, they need a good connection to make orders. But I mean, it's much easier for us, and that make us our life much easier. And I have to say, that's unbelievable as well, that we have now like more. We believe that at the end of the year we will have 20,000 users in the app of Mandao, which is crazy. We didn't thought that we were going to grow so fast. It's like we are growing like more than 100 people every day. They are getting a new user in Mandao app. So we are super happy. And the rest of the business is crazy. I mean, we connect with the people through the social media. Now, I mean, the paquete went like the second option. Now is everything through Facebook or Instagram, and we answer questions the people through the social media all the time. We respond emails instantly. So I mean, we are super happy with this situation right now.
That's great. So I'm just noting the time. I have one question to ask the three of you as entrepreneurs, and we'll do it in rapid fire, starting with Liber. So they say if you have a startup and you're about to name it, you should know it, be able to say it, and be able to spell it. So tell us the name of your startup and what it means, Liber.
Yes, that was a funny story because we were looking for a name, and there is some rules in the marketing that you need to find a short name with less than 8 characters. Then it could be remembered, and also that if people mention it, it should create a good feeling to the people. And in the best cases, people should keep it in mind when they remember something about you. Sometimes those names do not have any specific meaning, but in our case, we were eating, my partner and I, and we found out, we were eating fried plantain with some ropa vieja, which is very typical in Cuba to put over the fried plantain that we call tostones. We put some ropa vieja, which is also very traditional, and it was very tasty. And I came up with the idea of what about tostones, and we add the ed from internet, et. It sounds at the beginning a bit rare, because we search on Google, and at that time we cannot find in Google any place. Only in US there is a town named Tostone, and not even in Tostone there is a TostoneT. So we
Tostones there.
Yes, not even tostones. So we checked with our audience, and people started to sound well. And our designer said that it was good, for design. And then our logo include the 3T in a way, and the diamond in the middle to gather the value. And this is the meaning of our logo. But TostoneT has worked very well, and people like it, and people remember it. And not any Cuban that listening it once forget it, because it remains then something nice, something that they wanted to have. And we are very pleased.
Liber, after that explanation, there's no way I or anyone else on this Google Meet could possibly forget the name of your startup. In a few seconds, Marta, could you tell us the name of your startup, because we don't want to forget it either, and what does it mean?
Well, the three of them, they have different stories. The
rapid fire, real quick. What are they?
Mandao. It was like we were thinking. I was thinking with some friends, like I want to do this delivery company. I want to in 2016 when I was thinking on that, and what we can say. Let's send something. And here, Cuba Mandao is something like if you send something is you to mandas some to mandas you send something, and if you take the thing you're taking is a mandao, but also you say mandao for say something big. No, this is mandao. This is something big. This is something going well. This is eso está mandao. It's like going well. So mandao, it works for a lot of things. And I say, it came to me. I said mandao, and everyone say, "Oh my God, this is a very good name." I said, "Okay." I went to register immediately because I felt that it was like a real good name.
That's great. And if you could just list the other two startups so people can jot them down.
In Deus Expertos Contables, I can, make maybe the consulting company that I founded Deus in 2013. There were a few businesses in Havana because the law was from 2012, and I wanted to put a fancy name like I don't know, accounting consulting or consulting of something. And my friends from here, I was still from Spain, creating and thinking about the idea of the company, and I had some friends here. They say no, this is too fancy. You have to put something that the state knows that you are accounting. Then they will think you are you're offering law services, and this is not allowed. You shouldn't do something that is not allowed. And they say use your surname. So it came Deus Expertos Contables, where we provide accounting and financial services, and it's very clear that we are accounting. So Expertos Contables, as you told me, experta contable.
Exactly.
And then evolution, that was crazy. We thought in Cubis, like Cuban business. It came, Rio and I, we were thinking. I remember it was Robin as well, Robin, the founder of Vistar, because we were together in Miami in this summer course in FIU, and we were thinking like, oh, let's thinking something for a Cuban business, and it came negocios and revolution, evolution, and it came Negolution, which is a business magazine where we help and entrepreneurs, and we provide information and everything that we do with Negolution. So this is the story.
Thank you. Lauren, you have mentioned this before, but very quickly, remind us, Dador, what does it mean?
So Dador means giver, the creator. And the name comes from a poem of a Cuban writer, José Lezama Lima. And actually took it from my mom's a modern dance choreographer and director, and she actually has a show that she named Dador. So that's kind of like where the name comes from. But for us, when we were thinking about creating Dador, I just kept going back to that, and all creators are givers of something. You create and you kind of just like give it to the world. You let it go. It's not really yours anymore. So it had a really special meaning to us, and it's about creating, but it's also about giving.
It's beautiful. All right, so there you have it, folks. We have Dador, Deus Expertos Contables, Mandao, Negolution, and TostoneT. So Lee, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for that, and thank you, Brett. So now we have time for some Q&A. So we had a few questions come in already, but I want to just remind everybody, if you have a question, you can enter it in the chat, and there's also an activities feature with a Q&A section, so you can enter them there. So I see we have a couple from Maria Ballesteros Sola, who had to leave, so maybe, Brett, we could hang on to that. And Jay Brickman has a couple questions. Jay, if you'd like to, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. If not, we're happy to just relay these.
Okay, I believe I'm unmuted.
You are, yes.
Yes. Okay, the first question I had, and I hate to get down to business, but at the end of the day, that's really what we're talking about. Lauren, we at Crowley, which is a shipping company, have been doing business in Cuba for about 18 years now. And now we're going on our 19th year anniversary. Normally, we bring in various things to give to our various correspondent groups in Cuba. I'm wondering if we were to order something from you that could be specially sewn for the occasion, could we do that?
Yes, it depends how much are we talking about.
This would probably be
quantity. It just depends on the quantity. Quantity is a problem. For some
this would not be huge. It would be like 40 or 50 pieces, they would. Yeah. You could. So somewhere, can you tell us how to get in touch with you so that we can explore that with you?
Yes, I can. I have email, WhatsApp, social media. I can text you directly, maybe through here, Brett. I don't know if that's
I can connect you to via email if you'd like. Happy to do
okay.
that. Doing
Okay.
That would be
business
great.
Thank you.
via Google Meet.
And then
I love that a deal just got
Thank
done
you.
with Google Meet. This is awesome. Keep it going. Who else wants to do deals?
second question I had was in relation to Mandao. And I don't know whether I think it's fascinating what you're doing, but I wonder, is it possible? Would you even have interest in exploring working with some of the packaged goods receivers in Cuba who are having a great deal of problems delivering packaged goods? There is a horrible backlog right now. And if you have a network that could help on that, might be an interesting business for you and something which they very sorely need.
Yes. I mean, same of Lauren. We can connect later and talk about we can do. I mean, we have focused in during this time in delivering food and develop the app and the website that we're going to launch soon. But the thing is, yes, we are very interested. So let's connect and speak about what we can do. I know your company.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you're very famous. Yes,
Well,
let's
then,
meet and connect and talk out how we can connect both company.
okay, if you would please let me know how we can get in touch with you as well, then we can see if we can do something.
I can connect you there. Happy to do it.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Sure, of course. Of course. So we have a question, and this is from Maria Ballesteros Sola, who had to leave. So I will ask for her. And this, could go to all three of you, depending on who'd like to share. But her question is, if you could briefly discuss your startup capital needs. Did you use savings? Was there any formal loan or external capital? And I think this is a question that a lot of people may want to know because it's very different, in Cuba versus, the US and elsewhere where you can take out a loan for your startup. So I don't know who would like to start, but if you could let us know kind of how you got the working capital that you needed to get your business started. Or did you not need any capital?
Oh, well, I can start. Maybe Liber wanted to start, but I can. Well, so you mean that, I mean, like the seed capital, how we started our businesses?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, well, I started with in 2013. I was working. I worked for a short time in Spain after I finished university, so I could save 5,000 euros, and and there were not much, but I didn't need much when I started my first business. And so I rented a very small space, and I started working and another person, and then we hired another person, and then we were working, and then we made some money to make the second business. And for Mandao, so I have partners. I'm a co-founder, so they also put some money to make it that we have in Mandao right now. So here in Cuba, we have is a lot of limitations for to give guarantees to the partners because of the situation. We are individuals, and the companies are in our names. But I think we hope soon, hopefully, as I said, to bread when we have the small and medium businesses, the state will recognize the presence of partners and investors. So we hope soon that that will be possible for new businesses that come.
Well, hello. In my case, I used to have a modern car. In Cuba, to have a modern car is very difficult. And because of my previous job, I had a car. So I sold my car and I used the capital for buying me a flat and also to fund the business. I used around 4,000 US dollars to found this business. And then I started up to have clients who funds myself to grow up because it's very difficult to raise money capital in Cuba. We do not have investor angels, as you may know, and the bank only give you a credit if you had your business for over 5 years and you had some resources to put on guarantee. And I didn't have that. And at some point, when I asked for the bank credit, which is very small, I realized that we have more problems to access to that credit than to use it. So nowadays, fortunately, TostoneT is using their own funds, and we've been very successful to be alive and financial, safe.
Thank you, Liber. Lauren, did you want to mention anything about the startup?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was all like life savings. Everything. So it was all my life savings, and again selling some property, a motorcycle that I had here. So yeah, all went into the business, and then once we kind of the model that we developed, the business model, it was really like we really bootstrapped from the beginning, and I think that was like one of the best decisions that we did, and it's really helped us throughout this year.
Wonderful. We have another question from Maria in the chat that I'll ask, just about licensing and how easy was it to get your licenses to operate in Cuba? So I guess we could maybe go in the same order. Marta, if you want to start.
Yeah, I mean the first license that I get, it was easy. I mean here you go to the Ministry of Work and Social Security and you ask for the license. The thing is to the idea that you have for your business that fit in the license you are allowed to to develop or to have is that's the thing. So if you find, I mean, your idea fits in those categories, so you can go and it took me like 15 days or maybe 20 days to get my license. Then I mean the Negolution is independent media that we don't have a specific license for that. So we have a license as photographer. So this is the situations that happen sometimes here, that you want to do something but you don't have the license to do it, but we are very creative and we have another. And we have and for Mandao, the thing is that the license that we have is not think to have a big company as we are now, or a small company, as I say, I'm big for Cuba. But and sometimes you have to deal with people from the ministry and our IRS or not telling you that you are not allowed to have more employees because this is not they didn't think on that license for that, and you have to deal with that. But the thing is, when you get and you understand how it works, it doesn't take much. It's like 1 month for every license, but not always easy.
And Liber, Lauren, did you have, what was your licensing experience like?
Hi. Oh, it was so much drama. It was Ilse and me. I remember we were going to the Ministerio de Trabajo. That's where you get your licenses, and we just really didn't understand. I mean, we come from a really like creative background, like more like artists, and I come from like costume design, film, and for us that bureaucracy was kind of like very limiting. And I remember at one point, so if you're a fashion designer, so you actually do, like we make clothes, but we also can make shoes, and we can make bags and accessories and hats. And we realized that we had to get all these different licenses if we wanted to do that. Like if I wanted to make a hat and sew a hat, I need a different license for that. And if I wanted to make a bag, I needed a different license for that. But thankfully, Ilse ended up as an artist getting a registro de creador, and that's like a backup, like that's an artist license. So we kind of went with that, and I actually ended up giving mine in. I don't have a license.
Liber.
Ríete.
Yes, yes. Well, in my case, I got 3 licenses because I wanted to do several things. And up to now in Cuba, the license for cuentapropistas is very limited. I mean, there is 1 or 2 sentences after the license that describe more or less what you can do. So I wanted to do several things, because in business, you need to be able to survive out of different jobs. But as what you can do is very limited, I asked for the 3 license from the beginning, so I have to pay more taxes, and I'm in a different regime of taxes. I pay more or less almost 50% of my income of the revenue. Sorry, and it is very heavy to operate under those conditions. But it's better for me because sometimes I receive incomes from one job and then from others, or from software, or for printing, or for hardware services, network setting. And at the end of the day, it's better for me to have more windows of incomes. And that's the way I operate with 3 licenses.
All right, thank you. Let's see, I don't see any other questions. If anybody has one, I would say, feel free to add it or unmute yourself. Or Brett, I don't know if you had any closing questions you wanted to ask.
This is unbelievable. One thing that in the United States we talk about in entrepreneurship is creating an ecosystem, which happens somewhat organically, although the conditions seem to be right for it. So there's like the famous Silicon Valley analogy of the critical mass of entrepreneurs who are there helping each other with access to venture capital and with great internet reliability and programmers to make it all work. You have organically created an ecosystem, but you've done this in a way which is so akin to the word you use, Lauren, resolver. Resolviendo, you've created this ecosystem. What is it like to be part of the community of entrepreneurs or cuentapropistas in Cuba, and how do you support each other as an ecosystem?
Well, I can start. I think as I said before, we help each other a lot, I mean, I receive in my office like every week people that want to open their own business, and they go and they ask what license they can get and what do you think and what I should do. I always tell them, do it. I don't want, that they don't think much, let do it, don't because if you think much, that you won't do anything. So and I mean, Liber and I we belong to the always a net of the University of Havana, and we meet and we think we help each other, everything they need. We have a chat that the people ask things. What do you think about this law? What is coming? What do you think about the unification of the currency? And the people answer. They are like a few WhatsApp groups of for entrepreneurs that there are a lot of people, the people of Cuba Emprende as well, and we are always helping each other. I have a group for accountants that the people ask us how I can do this, how I can do that, and we help them. We have also as well a small group with the Ministry of Finance, and they help us to get to state-owned companies and try to connect each other with them. There are a lot of connections, and we are always trying to help each other. I'm sure. I mean, Lauren and Liber, that like that as well. I mean, any initiative, anything that we are thinking, then we are trying to make us involve. I mean, the people that we know, we are trying to connect, and there, if anyone new, we are trying to connect with new ones so they can help them. I think this is another job. At least for me, is another job. It's my job with Mandao, with Deus, and with Nevolution, and this is like the same, but it's like trying to help everyone that I can to open their business on to get solutions to have their businesses.
I don't know if Liber or Lauren want to add.
Yes, I think that it's in our nature. I mean, in our Cuban nature to be very helpful to each other. We communicate very easily among Cubans, and it's traditionally people used to help each other. So we have brought that to the same entrepreneurship environment where we meet, we exchange what you need, what I have. We do not have proper commercial relations. It's very difficult to sign contracts. Because people first are not used to that, because it's part of the culture of the people to sign contracts, to write checks, or to use bank for trading or for relations. People usually talk and get a personal agreement, and then we go ahead with a lot of risk, because things could go bad, and if you don't write the details in a contract, at some point you have some things that so people do not understood the same way, and that bring us problems. But we always try to solve in a friendly way. But it's difficult because at the same time we are not having a structure to help each other in a clear way. For example, for funds, it's very difficult to receive funds from other, because then you cannot put it in your numbers. You cannot declare that as a part of your funds, because in the law still you need to work or operate with your own funds or family funds, and there is no space for funds, for public funds that you receive for support, public support or things like that. And in a way, I think that our community is growing because people is realizing that to work for themselves is better, in a way that you are building something that usually makes you proud. But many people, like many places, at some point they decide not to continue because it's difficult to work as an entrepreneur in Cuba. You find a lot of challenge from very small things to big things or things that you cannot predict. But I think that more and more people are joining us, and we are happy to receive more entrepreneurs in Cuba. Thank you.
Thank you, Liber. We do have one other question that I'm seeing here, and we only have a couple minutes, so maybe we can have one of you answer. From Leah, who's a dancer and choreographer in Cuba. She's very inspired and would love to know, is there anywhere in Cuba where people can meet to discuss ideas, or even meet the three of you who are participating today? Is there sort of like an entrepreneur network that exists? And Marta, you mentioned some of the WhatsApp groups that exist, but I guess what would you recommend?
She wants to connect with entrepreneurs. It's what you ask. Well, she can read Negolution. And follow us in the social media. But no, we can. I'm sure we can connect her with a lot of people. Maybe she's interested in any sector, and we can connect her. I don't know if these groups are full, or I don't know. We have to find out. But she could be part of them. I'm sure of that. And if she wants a special connection, so she can tell us, and we will connect her. Between these three people here, we know almost anyone in Havana, so she will be very well connected.
That's amazing.
Yes, and also that's a very good field to work in Cuba, because we have a large community of dancers and choreographers. I think also the Lauren's mother is one of the most outstanding choreographers in Cuba, and she would be very happy to introduce a lot of very good dancers and choreographers. So now we welcome you to come and join us, and we will introduce you a lot of good people that will be very happy to work along with you. Thank you.
Yes, again, count me in, and you're welcome to also come by Dador, and any questions about entrepreneurship or dance, I will gladly make those connections.
All right. Amazing. So Brett, I don't know if you have any final words. I'll just do some thanking and wrapping up, but if you wanted to say anything, you've done such a wonderful job. So
I just wanted to thank you, Lee, and thank you so much to all of your colleagues that made this happen. ASCOA has been an amazing host for this. This was also done in partnership with CET and a lot of other friends and colleagues that are American, Cuban, Cuban American, and American Cuban. So thank you to everyone who joined, and especially to you, Lee, and our three amazing panelists.
Brett, you stole some of my thanking, but thank you for everybody for being here, especially Marta, Liber, and Lauren. Thank you for sharing your time and your stories with us. If I want to mention to everybody, if you loved hearing from them, you should listen to the 90 Miles podcast. Each of these entrepreneurs has been featured in an interview, and you can find it on, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. If you're in Cuba, it's on Cuba Pod. And so there's a lot more stories that you can hear, but you can hear more from each of them. And Brett is not only an expert moderator, but he's also done some hosting and interviewing on the podcast as well. So I, again, want to thank you. I want to thank Brett for being a wonderful moderator and for making this possible by, really spearheading Google's efforts in Cuba, and allowing us to connect like this, which, in 2020 is essential everywhere, but, it's wonderful to be able to see and speak and experience with Havana here from wherever you are. So thank you again to everybody. This will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch again if you'd like to see it on the site. But again, please listen and subscribe to 90 Miles, and we look forward to seeing you again in another event in the future. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, everybody.
you. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Gracias a
Awesome.
todos.
Bye, bye, bye,
Gracias
bye.
a todos. Chao.